Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Facebook Live. We got a lot to talk about, including the potential for multiple rounds of showers and storms. Look who it is right here.
Look who this guy is.
Hey, meteorologist Peyton Langford, straight off the golf course a few hours ago, huh?
Oh, yeah. Definitely hot out there.
That's why we got the lights down.
I think the heat got to us, too.
Yeah, we're going to keep the lights down. Let's just say that a little bit. But here's what we've got. We've got storm chances. Multiple rounds of storms. Peyton and I have been looking at this all day. Zach was looking at it a couple of days ago. We've got multiple rounds of showers and storms expected. It's going to be tricky to determine exactly when these storms are going to move in, but we're going to kind of dive into some of the ingredients. We're going to dive into that severe weather potential. I know one day in particular is concerning to you.
Oh, yeah. Like, it's, I feel like we haven't seen a setup like that in some time anywhere throughout the Central Plains and the Southern Plains.
And what day would that be?
That would be Tuesday. May 20th.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, May 20th.
Is it May 20th?
I think so. Let's see. Yep.
Yeah, Tuesday
is May 20th. Does anybody know how May 20th might ring a bell in meteorological terms, in the meteorological world? How does May 20th ring a bell from past years? There's actually two things that I can think of significance. Let's see how smart our viewers are. While you're contemplating that, while you're doing that, let's.
Second one.
Hey, y'all from Northwest Arkansas. I told you before. See if you can remember.
I can get May 21st.
Nope.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He got it.
Now I got it.
Rodney Cox says hi. I say hello. How about Edward?
Let's go.
He's ready for this live. Hey, Joel, I saw your awesome photo of two angels and two faces. That was pretty cool.
Joel?
Yeah. That was Joel Haskins that sent that in.
That was a really cool photo.
I was going to show it, but we had, let's just say, a little situation that happened.
A little snap.
Little thing that happened behind the scenes, and it caused me to have to do some stuff behind the scenes. So let's see here. What else do we got? Colin Davis looking at eyes here. Dina says, hey, y'all. I say, hey, y'all. Ready for the weekend. Yeah, boy, the weekend could be stormy. That's for sure. But might not do a whole lot here. Now, you might be doing some chasing on Sunday. We'll get to that in just a bit. I've got a field trip tomorrow. Not going to get rained out. Depends, Kiara. If you're going late morning into the early afternoon, there could be some storms. And we're going to get to that. So just hang on tight. James knows. More tornado. Which, by the way, more 2013. That's the last time that we had an EF5.
Crazy.
Yeah. Teddy says May 26th.
Yeah.
Does. We remember May 26th.
And May 21st.
All right. It was more. But there was also May 20th of 2019.
Yeah.
Which was a high-risk bustola.
Yeah.
Bustacholi. Is there a pollen count? There always is a pollen count. Let's show that, and then we'll dive into the severe weather potential. Well, yeah. So this is what we have. This is the latest pollen count that we have. You'll notice it hasn't been updated here for a little while. There's your pollen count. Everything's basically through the roof, including mold spores, grass pollen, tree pollen. Now, weeds and ragweed is way down, but that's not the season for that. I had to alert my grandparents. Let's see here. What else?
About Michigan getting hammered.
Oh, yeah. Wisconsin, too.
I think Minnesota might be involved.
In stereo.
Yeah.
You sent money? Let's go. Speaking of Baja Blast, what do we got here cooking, Peyton?
Got a Baja Blast. You know, it's a live stream. Had to get amped up. It's been a long day in the sun.
Gotta go.
So
Yeah.
Get back up.
All right. Without further ado, let's get to it. We'll give you the timing of the rain chances. Now, I got to preface this before we get into the timing. we got to let you know that this could change and we're going to show you why the timing is going to be so difficult to kind of pinpoint.
Anyone who thinks they can pinpoint it out this far,
ain't
trash.
happening.
Trash.
Ain't happening.
It will be wrong.
There will be times where it's right, other times where it's wrong.
It will be wrong, y'all.
All right, let's take. I see where you're going there. Here is the forecast for the HRRR. Now, here's a couple of things that you got to know. Watch how quiet it is tomorrow morning. Capped.
All cap.
Watch what happens with the cap during the late morning. You ready for this? 9 o'clock. 10 o'clock. Nothing.
Nope.
11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Nothing. What happens when we get to noon? Kaboom! Thunderstorms start to pop. So in 1 hour, you have thunderstorm development. And there's a reason why this thunderstorm development can be so explosive. A lot.
But I think this could vary within a couple hours, So, the timing, kind of broad brushing it, it's kind of late morning to kind of the mid-afternoon.
Yeah.
With Southwest flow, we've seen stuff often a little bit earlier. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's, maybe an hour and a half before.
I agree with that. Yeah, could be. But what I want to show you is the amount of thunderstorm coverage that could happen in just a few hours.
Exactly. I know what you're trying to say. There will be a lot of strong lift, and thunderstorms that pop up will blow up pretty fast.
So here's what we've got for Thursday afternoon. Now, granted, this is what the HRRR shows. You look at the graph, and it barely has anything, which is nothing new. And then Thursday night, oh, look at that. That's new. Did you see that little supercell ripping across the southern sections of our weather coverage area? So that could be in Scott County. Now, granted, this is not exactly what's going to happen. And I'll show you why it's so uncertain with all these little multiple disturbances. I do believe if we see storms late morning into the afternoon, then maybe Thursday evening will be quiet. So if you have any plans Thursday evening, maybe softball's doing some practice before the big regional.
Yeah.
Watch what happens Friday night, or should I say Thursday night into Friday morning. So you see we're at midnight on Friday, which is basically Thursday overnight. Watch the thunderstorm development to the south.
Gone.
Oh, it is. It's gone. No.
It was showing a little bit of
Yeah.
little action right around midnight.
Oh, there it is right there. I guess we just flipped through it pretty quick. But
Should
yeah,
be
no, it's
pretty
actually
far east.
already gone. So we're just backing up. I guess that was Thursday afternoon. So this changed. This updated.
Yeah.
Now here is Friday morning. I got to be honest with you. I'm going to bring this up full screen. I'm concerned about Friday morning. Late Friday morning, I am concerned for the potential for some really large hail. Now, this reminds me a lot of May 4th, 2020. May 4th, 2020 was a day that about 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning, there were some massive hailstones that were coming down. Not typically the time when you would expect large thunderstorms.
Right.
But that did happen. And models have been pretty consistent in showing a signal of this. Friday, late morning, there's those thunderstorms popping up. Now, the earlier HRRR had this in southwest Missouri. The newest one has it over northwest Arkansas. Could that change and become more southwest Missouri or River Valley? Yes, absolutely it can. But you'll notice here as we go throughout the late afternoon, those storms, or should I say early afternoon, those storms moving east explode. And these storms right here not only will have the potential for large hail, but they will also have the potential for maybe even tornadoes. And tornado threat is questionable because, number one, you're going to see those southwesterly winds. Those southwesterly winds with an east-southeast storm motion that's a little more favorable than a northeast storm motion.
Right.
And then the models are showing this moving east-southeast, but notice Friday afternoon gets quiet. I think we are right. So here's Friday evening. Look at that storm potential that develops again. Now it shows from just a couple of hours. Look at how fast these thunderstorms erupt. Boom! I
Yeah,
mean,
that's more
these
towards central
these are
Arkansas.
going to be some explosive thunderstorms. So, but the problem is that we aren't going to be able to tell you, you know, number one, graduation ceremonies. We know the times of these graduation ceremonies. We don't know if there's going to be storms right at that particular time. So this is not the type of weather pattern where you cancel several days out.
Right.
You just don't. Not a good idea. All right. So that's the HRRR. Let's give you more of a detailed of the timing looking at this. And this is why we actually went with by the way, this only goes out 48 hours because this is high resolution model data. You'll see 30%. This is the Thursday late morning into the early afternoon. I think that's the most likely time for rain. Thursday night, I think there's a chance for some isolated storms popping up. But these are the type of storms that will be high impact, low coverage. What we mean by that is that not everywhere is going to see rain with these isolated supercells.
Right.
At the time those supercells are coming through. But if you're in the path of them, think of this like, the storms that were pretty strong. I know May 26th, we're talking about one storm. Think about Washington County and Fayetteville. They didn't see any rain
Didn't
at
see
all.
any rain at all.
So it was a big event, May 26th, but it was only for Benton County.
And we're not saying this will be like that. We're just
No.
talking about,
the coverage.
low in coverage.
Yeah.
But could, have some higher impact.
Exactly. Now, the River Valley, you saw the storms are more focused in northwest Arkansas for Friday late morning into the early afternoon. That doesn't show up in the River Valley just because I think it's going to be a little bit farther north. The energy will be farther north. But what are we talking about when we look at energy? Well, first of all, let's look at the risks. A lot of people asking about a severe weather risk. And including Edward. Do we have a 2% risk of tornadoes? We'll take a look at that here for tomorrow. And then someone else, how's the weather for running errands at 3 p.m.? Once again, just exactly what we said. It's going to be tough to discern exactly when these storms will develop. But Friday afternoon could be a break in the action. They could come through Friday late morning, move out by the early afternoon. We're quiet until Friday evening. So here's the severe weather risk for the day 2 convective outlook. And remember, this will change at 1 a.m. tomorrow morning. If we look at the individual risks, yes, you guessed it, a 2% for tornado potential. So here is the day 2 tornado potential, and you'll see it's in their eastern weather coverage area. The day 2 for wind, the day 2 for hail. Everything's on the lower end. Makes sense because the coverage will be very limited.
Even very low for tornadoes.
Yeah, very low for tornadoes. And that's just because here's the deal that I've done that right here. That's the day 1. The reason that I did very low, and I know this might be a little confusing because this is very low, and then this is low, and this is low. There's a reason why this is very low because there isn't a 2% for wind and hail.
Right.
It's only 5%.
Yeah.
Confusing, I know. But that's why we have only a very low for tornadoes. I had to put that in there, and I didn't want to put percentages because that doesn't really make sense to people. But if we are to describe the percentages, this is how it goes. So it's 2% of seeing a tornado within 25 miles of a point. So it's like a climatology, essentially. It's a probabilistic look. All right. So you have a 2% chance of seeing a tornado anywhere within 25 miles of a point.
2% higher than climatology.
2% higher than climatology, which, by the way, this time of the year, it is favorable climatology for severe weather. Now, that's Thursday, and that risk will likely change, but probably not change a whole lot. Now, this is the day 3 convective outlook. A couple things to note. The enhanced risk has been introduced. That's for southeast Missouri. Does not include us. However, you might remember that the day 5 and the day 4 was east of us. Well, boy, did that change. And we knew that might change. So that's why this has been shifted. And then you're going to see when we look at, this is what concerns me, the probabilistic. So first of all, let's go through the hazards before we look at the probabilistic. Remember, this is the day 3 convective outlook. So we don't break down all the individual tornado, hail, damaging wind threat. because it's all lumped into one. But significantly large hail is the main threat, followed by damaging winds. Will there be a tornado potential? Yes. I probably think it might be a 5% if they were to issue this here tomorrow, which will be the new update at 2 a.m. No, we will not be staying up for it. I'm not. I know you're not.
Once an earthquake happens.
No, don't talk about that. Okay, so here's the probabilistic. Ready? This is what concerns me. That hatched area. Now, just because you're in the hatched area doesn't mean that you will see very large hail, 2 inches or greater. It just means that the possibility, the parameters, the ingredients are there. But remember, you've got to get a storm that's isolated that moves over your area. So like a lot of times I see it on national news all the time. You see this hatched area and it's like over 43 million people at risk. So it's like, are 43 million people going to experience severe weather? No.
Nope.
It just means that the area is included, but I don't like wording stuff like that. It bugs me.
Miscommunication.
Yeah. So let's zoom in here and take a look at that hatched area and see what it covers. So pretty good chunk of the area. Now remember, this is just the day 3 convective outlook. This could easily shift. Dry line could be farther west. All of these things can change. So we just know that the potential is there for severe weather and significant severe weather. All right. So if we go north, this is where greater energy is, a little bit stronger lift. But I still think isolated storm activity will be possible. And look at that hatched area goes all the way down to northeast
I think it might
Texas.
start over us and then start to move east. That'd be, best case scenario if storms did develop.
Yep.
Be starting over our area, then moving east before they get real impactful.
Becky's got a question here. May 26th was 5% tornado, wasn't it? Technically it was, yeah.
And we were in a slight risk.
So, Carrie, you're asking about timing. We broke that down. We will again. But timing is going to be difficult because it's kind of like boiling a pot of water and telling me when the time of the first bubble that's going to appear. It's kind of tough. Now I want to show you why the timing is going to be so difficult. We've gone over this many, many times, but this is the vorticity map. Now, vorticity can be described as the spin in the atmosphere. So it's the spin of a fluid. The stronger the spin of the fluid, the greater the lift. The faster it's spinning, the stronger it's spinning, the more lift you have. The more lift you have, the greater the thunderstorm potential. The greater the thunderstorm potential with all the ingredients, the more the storms are severe.
Yep.
So first of all, you're going to see all these little minor, what we call shortwave disturbances. Oh, and there's a lot of them. Now, we didn't see any rain or storms today because we didn't have any super energy. But here comes one wave of energy. Now, you see this. This is not radar, but this is the energy or the systems moving in. I had a great analogy, all right? It was about like a tennis ball feeding machine.
Oh, yeah.
These are all tennis balls. And this big trough of low pressure is the tennis ball machine. So it's just spitting out tennis balls across the net. And what we are, the racket, is the storms. So the storms are developing out ahead of the tennis ball.
There you go.
All right. So here's what we've got when we put this into motion: multiple disturbances. Look at all that look at all those pieces of energy. Now look at that Friday night into Saturday morning. And then Saturday evening. Now, models might not be breaking out thunderstorms incorrectly as we have all these little short waves coming through. This is the true definition of a Baja blast.
Definitely.
Take a swig, might as well.
Yep.
There's a reason why we call it Baja blast, because this is Baja. You got these little pieces of energy that are swinging in off the Eastern Pacific. Models can't handle this. HRRR does a better job, but it doesn't go out far enough to get out to Saturday, Sunday. And look at all this energy. Now, this is where Peyton and I start getting concerned. We get a Fujiwara effect of these two lows. You can almost see them.
Two systems dancing around
Two
each
systems dancing around each other, and then
old
kind of
slingshot.
like, the old slingshot. What happens in figure skating where you have the toss,
Mhm.
the toss jumps when they're skating in pairs, and they go, whoo, they throw
Like a-
their partner, and they go,
Or like the roller
woo,
derby,
and
you
travel across exactly
like a
the
roller derby when they swing the person.
Ooh, I like that too. Roller derby's good because they're on the same plane. Yeah.
Mhm.
But also too is figure skating. They're spinning as well.
Like
So
the
yeah,
hammer throw.
there you go.
They're spinning around.
He's got them
so
all.
fast.
He's got them all, and just whoa, let's it go. Yep.
It's kind of what we might see with one of these systems.
Now watch what happens on Tuesday. Oh,
That
man.
system on the bottom.
That system right there,
gets
and
swung
there's a
across the
lot of
room.
energy. Now, another thing we're going to see is what we call westerlies. So Tuesday night, we see what are called westerlies. If this comes to fruition, keep in mind, this is 6 days out.
Mhm.
This system could lift north and move into the northern plains, or this system could just evaporate. I don't think that happens personally, but you'll see this energy swinging out, and that right there leads to some pretty intense storms. Now, if we look at the jet stream, you can actually see this upper level trough becoming negative tilt. So look at all of this southwest flow.
Yeesh.
This really shows it. So you've got to know it's northwest flow. But with the saying a southwest flow, oh no, it's southwest flow.
Because it's never right.
Yeah.
Models
Well,
always get it
and number
wrong.
two, these storms could be significant.
Yeah.
Oh no, as in this could be some pretty significant weather. No, it's not going to hit different than other systems. It's typical southwest persistent flow. So here's what we've got with Friday into Saturday. Look at all that jet stream energy right over us. That tells me there's a boundary nearby that doesn't really move. It just stalls out. There's Monday, May 19th. Look at that trough of low pressure that's carving a dip in the jet stream. Now look at this. My goodness, look at that on Tuesday evening. Now, what is this? This is called diffluence. Winds are going almost straight north in eastern Kansas, and they're going west-southwesterly in southwest Arkansas. If you were to put your hands in a pool at the top of the pool, think about this. You have a bathtub or a pool. You take your hands at the top of the water, have them like this, and spread them out real fast. What happens?
Water comes rushing up to fill it back.
Yep, because there's a void of air.
Mhm.
That's what's happening with this jet stream right here. You get what's called diffluence of the air because the air is moving away, so there's a void in the upper levels, which creates enhanced lift. Not only that, but there's going to be the potential right here for extreme lift for thunderstorm development.
Because
Now-
the atmosphere has to replace that void.
Yep.
So the faster the air moves apart aloft, the quicker the air comes together at the ground to try to fill that void.
Divergence aloft, convergence at the surface or near the surface. That causes rising motion. That causes your thunderstorms. A lot of people asking about timing. We're getting there with this next. There's the westerlies too. That's when the boundary pushes through, though, and that's the end of our severe weather is on Wednesday, unless the system slows down, which is possible. So why can't we tell you exact timing, Carrie? The problem is, and we've gone through this before, there's all those little pieces of energy. There's all those disturbances. So here's the model showing Friday at 2 p.m., okay? But a higher resolution model, according to the HRRR, let's go to Friday, 2 p.m. Nothing. You see the difference? You see the discrepancy? We'll also look at the GFS. So here's Friday, 2 p.m. Look at all those storms over the area. Here's Friday, 5 p.m., thunderstorms. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think the HRRR sometimes doesn't do as good of a job as the European in breaking out convection. Here's Saturday. Did you see that? Saturday morning into the afternoon, there could be beautiful weather for baseball. However, Oklahoma has the potential to see severe storms.
Mhm.
In fact, we'll look at the day 4 and the day 5 because we haven't done that yet.
It's true.
But there's Saturday, 6 p.m. Notice how there's no storms over us, but watch what happens Saturday night. Boom. Thunderstorms popping up. Now they kind of dissipated, right? That's because the energy looks to be farther south according to this, but there's all those little disturbances. I personally think overnight Saturday into Sunday morning is going to be one of our heavier rain periods.
Yeah.
That's when we see really heavy rain.
One thing we'll have to watch with a lot of this is if we're very active, we'll have a cap in place. We won't be super warm at the surface. We won't have those great big supercells because we'll be capped. Now we still could see elevated storms, but yeah, there we go. We could see a cap.
Beautiful weather for baseball. Hail.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny. Baseball
Friday
hail,
morning
not
especially.
baseball. Good play on words. I like that. Is it too early to see a cap? We've got a graphic, by the way, that describes a cap, and I'm going to show you that in just a bit. But this is what we've got here for Sunday. All these storms. Look at that. And look at the low that develops out to the west. And then watch this Monday in the early morning hours, storms. Monday afternoon, that could be severe. Look at how the flow is more out of the south. So that southerly flow could lead to greater tornado potential. Then as we go into our Tuesday, this is where we're concerned here, right here. Look at this. Now, you're not going to see all the individual supercells because the resolution of this model isn't great enough. But you're going to see a giant low, which is basically right. I think you can see it. Counterclockwise spin. The low is right here. So this is what's happening with the surface map. You got a low, you got a cold front. Actually, I take that back.
No, you're right.
Nope.
Oh, dry line.
You're going to have a dry line here.
Then the cold front in front of that, just east of.
Then you got to have the cold front right here. Then you're going to have a warm front that's probably located right here. You can see it. That, my friends, is called the warm sector. My goodness. What's a warm sector? It's the boundary where you have in between the dry line and the warm front. You got a triple point that's in Kansas. You've got just tremendous open warm sector. You got that negatively tilted trough. You've got a strong low-level wind shear. This Tuesday night could be significant if this comes to fruition. That's a big if. We'll see what happens. Why are we concerned about all this? Because watch the instability. This is just through the roof, which makes sense because we got Cape that's at, 3, 4, 5,000, 6,000 joules per kilogram.
Just doesn't stop.
Look at this. It just doesn't stop. There's Friday afternoon. The dry line is to the west. Storms developing. Here is Saturday. Now, I don't think there's going to be any severe weather Saturday morning because look at that. The frontal boundary pushes south. So there's no instability at all. If we're cloudy and rainy on Saturday morning, then you can forget about severe weather potential Saturday afternoon, but that's not what the models show. The models show this warm front racing northward and moves in by Saturday night. So maybe the risk on Saturday will be more focused in Oklahoma. And I personally believe that.
Yeah, but we'll be dealing with some heavy rain.
But then you're going to see Sunday, look at all that instability come roaring back. And that is a lot of instability. And then as we get into Monday, more instability. And look at where the dry line is. I can tell you this, storms that develop over Oklahoma and they're not capped will move east-northeastward and move over northwest Arkansas. Yeah. And that will be during the evening and overnight hours. So Monday night into Tuesday morning, most likely. And then here's Tuesday's system. Look at that, how the dry line mixes east of Oklahoma City. This is when that energy swings in. You've got a dry line bulge right here. And so that means thunderstorms are going to pop, essentially, just east of the dry line. And guess what? Remember those westerlies, east northeast winds, isolated supercells, just tracking.
If they can survive.
Yep, which I think they can with that upper level support.
Yep.
But remember, this all depends on if these models really, get anything right with the energy. Now, one of the things that we didn't mention, which is kind of cool, is we're talking about the instability. So, did you know that fuel or that energy for thunderstorms can tell you how fast an updraft is going to be?
Mm-hmm.
So
Minus
Peyton and I
friction and
were
gravity.
minus friction and gravity and minus drag.
Yeah.
But this is what's cool. We were actually doing some math yesterday.
Mhm.
So the square root of 2 times CAPE. So if you have 6,000 joules per kilogram, which is the amount of energy, CAPE, which is very unstable, I would say even extremely unstable. And then you've got, multiply that by 2, you got 12,000. You take the square root of 12,000 and you get about 110. That gives you meters per second for the updraft velocity.
Yeah.
110 meters per second is about 250 miles per hour. So that means that the amount of rising motion is going to be essentially 250 miles per hour if those storms actually do get break the cap.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
They'll be growing pretty fast.
So think about this. From nothing on the radar to thunderstorms popping up in 6,000 CAPE with upper level support. It doesn't matter if you have 6,000 CAPE, you need upper level support. Let's look at the SIG Tor here. So tomorrow, I don't think there's much of a SIG Tor. Just a little bit popping up there Thursday, late morning into the afternoon down to the south. Little bit popping up Thursday night. A little bit popping up Friday morning. But then watch Friday late morning. Remember those isolated storms that I was talking about? Something interesting about Friday late morning, I just still think. So we're watching that. We're watching that closely. And then Friday evening, those storms start to move out. So, Kimberly, I know you're asking about a specific area, but I don't know if you watched this stream at all. And we were talking about how difficult it's going to be to determine exactly where storms are going to take place.
Yeah.
It's impossible to tell you that.
Southwest flow models don't handle it well.
Yeah.
Because it's such subtle energy moving over. Models definitely won't be able to pick up on that.
But I'll tell you what I will do. I will show you over time what the precipitation amounts are going to be. And then you can look at your location and see, well, is there going to be rain? And then you're going to see why we're basically saying everyone's going to be impacted by storms. So here you go. We're just going to, no pauses. We're just going through this here. You can see how fast the time is going. Everybody's seeing rain at this point. Rain continues to come down. Rain continues to come down. We've got storms coming through. And doesn't really break out a whole lot of storms after Tuesday of next week. Now, the models were a lot higher on this earlier because it showed a lot more storms. Right. That's directly correlated to the energy that it picks up. Sometimes the energy is less, sometimes it's more, according to the models. There you can see the rainfall. So every single square inch of the area will see rain eventually. That's why you need to keep the weather app handy. We'll talk about some other sources for information. Here is the rain totals for the next 3 days. The graph, not surprisingly, barely shows anything.
Yeah. We
could get 4/100ths of an inch in like 4 minutes. Here's a look at the European. That shows 1.25. Seems a little more plausible. GFS.
They've all backed off of the rain.
Yeah, the thing is, the GFS is really backed off, but
it only goes through Saturday.
It'll go through, yeah. This only goes through Saturday. Exactly. It's just a 3-day forecast because the NAM doesn't go out any farther than that. But you can see bullseyes of heavier rain. So let's look at the GFS. I haven't even looked at the GFS, but before we do that, we're going to look at this QPF from the Weather Prediction Center. And, this has been changing. They had barely an inch, less than an inch actually, yesterday. Now it's gone up to 2.5. I think this goes up even more. because remember, there's uncertainty because the GFS is barely showing any storms or precipitation. So here's a look at the QPF for the 7-day precipitation forecast, and you can see some bullseyes of heavier rain. And that right there is a contour of 2 to 2.5 and 3 inches. That's the 7-day forecast, but remember, that's only what the models are showing because the European backed off, so they backed off on it too. Let's look at the GFS. I haven't even looked at this, to be honest. What is my least favorite model? The GFS, Becky. Absolutely. Because those two long-range forecast models that people typically use the most, the European and the GFS, there's always this low probability or predictability too low that you see on the Storm Prediction Center. The reason that they have that is because the GFS isn't in line with the European.
Yeah, the models
So
disagree.
everything with the models in disagreement causes low predictability, and low predictability is typically based on the GFS. Absolutely my least favorite model. Here's a look at the GFS hour by hour. So you can take that off. So this barely shows anything Thursday early afternoon. The GFS is notorious for missing all that Baja Blast energy. But it does get it Thursday night, whereas the European didn't have anything Thursday night. So here's Friday morning. Just shows like garden variety drizzle. There's Friday evening. That's way too far east. Typically, the GFS is always too far east. Then Saturday, well, that shows storms popping up.
Yeah, sort of that heavier rain we've been talking about
Yep.
Saturday night.
And into Sunday morning. And then here's Sunday afternoon. Storms developing out in Oklahoma. I think that's pretty feasible. And then that makes its way overnight into Tuesday. Now let's see what Tuesday looks like. Tuesday. See, that's got it too. Similar setup, but it just doesn't have the resolution and it doesn't have as much rain. So I like that.
We got acronyms for the GFS, the NAM, and the graph.
See, it doesn't look so bad, Lauren, but that's because this is a lower resolution model. We have a higher resolution model. We can't show it, but it shows thunderstorms erupting all over the place. Here's the NAM 3 kilometer. We didn't show this. Here's the NAM 3 kilometer. You want to ask about timing, Misty?
Everyone's wondering about Friday.
I know. I understand. Understandable. Friday, I think late morning into the early afternoon is going to be trouble. I just have a feeling Friday late morning. Here's Thursday tomorrow. Look, it has a little bit of rain popping up. I think that's very feasible. So we have rain Thursday late morning into the early afternoon. Then Thursday night, look, that model continues with rain. There's so much energy. There's going to be showers popping up at all times. Now here's Friday morning. Look at this. Quiet, quiet, quiet. All of a sudden, what happens? Here it comes. Changed. Not in there anymore. It had it before. Now it doesn't even show it. And that's the beauty of being a meteorologist, is that this totally changed. Now look, it's got one cell that comes over Fayetteville at 6 o'clock. Is that really going to happen? Who knows?
Probably
Does that
not.
bring lightning? If it happens, it will.
Yeah.
But then there's absolutely nothing. So the bottom line is you're asking about timing. You're asking about when storms will develop. And we reiterated the reasoning why the timing is going to be so difficult to get.
There's a lot of inconsistencies with the models versus what's actually going on, and the subtleness of the lift or the spin in the atmosphere. We will have upper level support, but will we see cloud cover? Will we break that cap?
Yeah.
A lot of these factors sort of don't go hand in hand, model to model.
Nope.
So we just kind of have to take it day by day.
That's exactly what we're going to do. That's what you need to do. So here's Thursday early afternoon. If you're wondering about the latest HRRR, there's some storms. Now, this is the extended one. This update's only every 6 hours. Let's look at, because we will be able to get to the late afternoon on this model, and let's see if it develops any types of storms here Thursday afternoon. Yep. That's got them. There you go. So I think Thursday midday into the early afternoon looks like the most likely time for some rain and storms.
Yeah, a few rumbles of thunder here and there. I don't think anything will be too concerning, but there might be, one or two stronger storms in that kind of mix.
And the graph doesn't show anything. I'm surprised it has clouds, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But here's what we've got for the dew points. This is what I wanted to show you. This is a scale that you made, Peyton. Very dry air in brown, very warm, humid air in green. And the darker the green, the
That
more
dark green
humidity.
is 70.
Yeah. Check this out. So dew points drop south
Because of that front.
because of the front coming through. Here's Sunday afternoon. Look at the dry line.
Roaring back.
Look at 70 dew point in Oklahoma City, 68 for Fayetteville, and look at the dry line, 20 in Amarillo. So remember, the storms develop just east of the dry line, isolated supercells typically, and that's for Sunday. And then look at the dry line start mixing east, but it still remains to the west. Look at that. Finally, by Wednesday, there's the dry air swinging in. That's why we see an end to the rain. Okay, so Ava's saying, I know it's out of the coverage area, but can you guys tell me what to expect driving to St. Louis to Indianapolis Friday?
Oh, the Indy 500 coming up.
Oh man, that's next Friday, but it's not this Friday.
Right. Oh, that's true.
Oh, Brendan's not too concerned. That's awesome. That's good. Let's show you here what the like to see what the Sig Tour is on the European, because we haven't even looked at this, to be honest with you. It's true. So that's a lot of moisture. That's more moisture, more instability than we've seen basically all year.
Yeah.
And you see that in the summer. It's common to have 3, 4, 5,000. Not with that strong of a jet stream, though. Okay, I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this. This is a little too wide. And then we're going to answer your question, Ava. I just want to look at this since we're talking about Sig Tour. Ow. Delete. I hate when there's camera views. Regional close. Okay, so let's step through time here. Let's see if Friday morning, kind of bumps up a little bit. Not much. There's Saturday. Everything's kind of quiet. Large hail, damaging winds, the main concern, along with some heavy rain. But this is where I think things get interesting Monday. I haven't even seen it. I don't know what it's going to show, but I have a feeling it's going to be ramping up.
Then
Tuesday is going to be the day.
Crank up as well.
Let's see what we got.
Huh.
Nothing.
All right.
All right.
Cool.
Hey, nothing. Yeah, it's a high resolution. It's a low resolution, long range model.
Again, we're not saying this Tuesday is going to be, Armageddon.
Yeah.
We're just kind of thinking hypothetically.
All right.
If the model outputs came to fruition.
So
what
does the cap look like? Well, the cap is basically non-existent tomorrow afternoon. Almost looks like where the dry line is, but I don't know if I buy that.
Did you make this scale?
Yeah.
All right.
It's kind of cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
So weak is in the dark blue is stronger cap, and the lighter blue and the transparent is a weaker cap. So I'm gonna zoom in a little bit.
Well, of course the cap breaks because it's resolving storms.
I know, exactly. And then watch what happens Friday. that boundary list northward, that is no cap.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the millennial talk, but
No
that
cap.
is no cap. And then you look at the storms that it resolves. I'm telling you, Friday morning. In fact, he had a sounding. Exactly, Becky. But time will tell. Okay, back to Ava's comment. Ava wants to know, and I brought this up earlier, but tell me what to expect driving St. Louis to Indianapolis on Friday. So tomorrow is going to be a big time severe weather day for areas to the north. My old stomping grounds.
Wisconsin,
You got
Michigan, I think eastern Minnesota in there as well.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to remove, that's by the way, the surface map right now. So if we take it up north and we look at our day 2 outlook, look at that. Enhanced risk over Wisconsin. Look at the tornado potential. Hatched area. Now, that is where I have a little bit of family in the Wisconsin area. And they're in the hatched area for tornadoes tomorrow.
Well, you got to let them know.
Yeah.
Make sure they're weather aware.
I will. They are. I already got them on Weather Call Next Gen, so they will know. But that's a hatched area.
What does the model show? Just hypothetically, Indianapolis tomorrow or Friday.
Yeah, let's check it out. It's a good idea.
So we can answer the question.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get for Friday. Yeah, I could do that. Let's go to the HRRR.
And your question of how far east does a dry line ever push? We've seen it pushed into Memphis.
Ooh.
Remember that one time?
Yep.
So the dry line all the way in Memphis, Tennessee.
Yep.
That was crazy. It can get pushed pretty far east, but most of the time, yes. And normally it hangs out between the Texas Panhandle and Central Oklahoma.
All righty. Yeah, I got to get into this.
Gary, how much is Weather Call Next Gen? $15?
With lightning. $15 with lightning
$15
for a year. A year. Only $12 a year. And Trace Connor's got it. With lightning. Okay, so let's take a look here. I gotta delete. I hate that. It shouldn't move.
Yeah, just get rid of it.
Always moves. I mean, I'm trying to delete it off there. All right. Ava, you've been patiently waiting. Let's take a look here. St. Louis to Indianapolis. Yep. We'll move that. Okay, here we go. And then we'll look at Wisconsin too. So there's Thursday, nothing. Ooh, there's Thursday night. Look at this. Look at the thunderstorms. Those are isolated supercells right there. And then Friday, I think you're going to be fine. Nope. Negative.
Spoke too soon.
Ava,
could be a little dicey.
Here's what you got to do, Ava. Leave earlier. Now remember that timing could change, but the earlier you leave on Friday, the less fuel that you have for thunderstorms, the less likely it is that those storms will be blossoming. But there's a look at early afternoon. Man, that is some explosive thunderstorm development. And then you could see that just goes all the way to Indianapolis. And then finally by Friday evening. So you either leave Friday afternoon, evening, late, or you leave Friday morning.
Yeah, I leave Friday morning. No one likes to drive at night, especially with all the cars with the LED headlights blinding you.
Yeah. Oh, look at that low. All right, let's check this out here tomorrow. Oh my goodness, arcing supercells. Check this out. Look at the southeasterly winds.
Yeesh.
With northeast storm motions. That is just going to be a string of pearls.
Yeah.
Wow. My gosh. That's going to be a big day for Wisconsin.
Yeah. Tomorrow night.
Wow.
We'll have to watch.
Yeah, we will.
Coverage.
Watch Mark Baden. Look at that. Man, and then look at that low cranking out. So that's the low that comes through, that's way north of us. In fact, let's go back to our weather graphics here. Can you on weather 2 maybe bring up that sounding?
I can find it.
It was on the HRRR. It was during the early afternoon.
Yeah, it was like
and it was to the
18
east. Yep. So in the meantime, while we're looking at
No, it's
that,
15.
we're going to shut this down here pretty soon. But Weather Call Next Gen, people asking about it. I'm going to give you the QR code for it. Oh, man. Well, you're going to be driving through some pretty nasty storms. So be careful, be watching. And here's a look at Weather Call Next Gen as Peyton's bringing up a sounding. So there's the scan, the QR code, and there's the website on the screen, weathercallservices.com/KNWA-NextGen.
It is trash now. Don't even look it up. The sounding
Yeah.
not great anymore.
This gives you calls, texts, and emails to subscribers only within the storm polygon. I can't describe how important that is to be exactly located with where the polygon is. Tornado confirmation calls, which is really awesome. Extreme severe thunderstorm alerts. Notification for storms with hurricane force winds. So that's over 70 miles per hour. And calls to landline phones. Think of all the rural locations that don't have good cell service. It will call landline phones.
There we go. I found it. I was on the wrong day.
Okay. Friday, right?
Yes, Friday.
Yeah.
10 o'clock.
Telling you. All right. So that's what Weather Call Next Gen is. You can screenshot your phone with that. Let me get the camera off the screen. Then you can see people are talking about it. Next Gen is the best. Next Gen is awesome. It really is.
Dude, it's sick.
It's so fast. There's a reason, by the way, that it costs. The reason for the cost is you've got to keep up with phone servers because it's making thousands of calls in a second.
Right, yeah.
And you can't do that with your regular, phone system, which is why, unfortunately, Code Red and even BC Alert, I know they're free, but they have failed quite often.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Emily Jacob, Friday is the highest risk day. Oh, I did not show the day 4 or 5. Good question.
That's a good point.
Well, yeah, good point and a question because you were like, did you show the day 4 or 5?
Yeah.
So we did not. Let me bring it up and we'll take a look. So I got to, first of all, get to it. Stand by. I need a good app that actively shows. So it does actively show you the polygon in the alerts, which is nice. All right. Here we go. Day 4 coming up. Just got to click on it and load her up. Is it not the day? Is it the day 5? Oh, it is day 5.
5 and 6.
5 and 6. Yep.
The predictability too low for day 4.
Yep.
Saturday and Sunday.
Guess why? Give you 3 letters. GFS.
Oh.
That's why it's predictability too low.
Long range models disagree.
All right, here is the
AI
severe weather
model.
risk. There it is. That's for Sunday.
Yeah.
Now, I personally think that's a little too far west in terms of the eastern extent of it. I think the eastern extent needs to go a little farther east. Regardless, there it is.
Yeah.
And then we'll go to the day 6.
That's very reminiscent of May 20th, 2019.
Is it really?
Yeah. Day 5 was pretty similar.
All right, bringing this up. Day 6 loaded in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That looks like May 3rd.
That's just straight up tornado
99.
climatology.
Yeah, I know.
Almost exactly.
Now, I personally think that's too far west on the eastern extent again. Remember, they're just highlighting the most likely area.
I don't know. I-35 is a looking mechanism. I've always sworn by that.
No, I
I-35.
agree. I agree. What I'm saying though is I just don't know if is that messing up?
No, it's because I threw my hands up.
Okay. The eastern extent is not east enough. Do you get what I mean?
Sure.
Wow. Glitching
We've
central.
entered the matrix.
Yep.
Take the red pill.
Take the red pill. All right. Any question? Oh, here we go. Sounding.
This is the sounding for maybe the isolated storm we could see in Glitchville, USA.
Yeah.
No, but man,
All right. Well,
that's how you know severe weather's coming when the technology starts
Yep.
acting up. Our weather graphics will start crashing too. That's just
Oh, I love
nature of the
radar
beast.
scope. Yeah, I love radar scope. Radar scope's good stuff.
oh yeah, good stuff.
Glitch. It's like Wreck-It Ralph.
Oh,
I like
yeah.
that. I like that show.
Love that movie.
Weatherwise, did you like Weatherwise, or what's the other one? Yeah, I know.
Just gonna keep my mouth shut.
The only thing about
Just
That
like let's
is-
just take the high road.
yeah, let's do it. But what was the other one that you were looking at?
I'm not gonna promote any app.
What was the other one though?
I'm not gonna promote it.
No, there was another one that you were saying was good.
I'm gonna go
That
with
didn't have the other mode.
Weatherfront.
Weatherfront, that's right. Yeah. There you go. Now, that right there, my friends, is a sounding. So, first of all,
Oh,
whoa. Yeah, because I don't have it on weather 2. I
Oh.
have it on. That's not.
I was trying to get the cam.
All right. So, here is a look at the sounding for basically eastern sections of
Yeah.
northwest Arkansas. So, if you show the map,
These would be
Eastern
these
Washington
isolated
County.
storms. Friday at 15Z, which is 10 o'clock in the morning.
yep. Back to the sounding.
Uncapped.
Uncapped, 76 over 68. Wind shear is okay. Look at some of the parameters, though. You got some pretty impressive pretty impressive cape, 0 sin. It's got the shear is not super awesome, but you've got a supercell of 17.8. The significant tornado parameter, 5.2. And if we look
Pretty
at
steep mid-level lapse rates.
that's what I think is going to be a big thing on this.
Yeah.
Okay. Good point, Becky. We got you on this. And totally understandable what you mean.
Yeah.
So here's what it is. All right. And you can draw on the cursor here. All right. Maybe hold on. I might
I
be
can
able
draw
to do
in
it.
paint.
Oh, I got it. Look. I can just do this. I got it.
Oh.
Don't worry.
All right.
It's all good. All right. So here is, first of all, the temperature, the dew point. As you go up in height, you can see this, what's called steep level lapse rates. Steep lapse rates is basically when you have very rapid cooling aloft.
And what this is overall is a representation of the atmosphere.
Yep.
On the far left side, you have pressure levels, which are at different altitudes.
And it's and it's called a skew T because these temperature lines are skewed.
Mhm.
So basically, anywhere along this line right here would be the same temperature. We're not going to go through and describe exactly on this sounding, Becky, because I'm going to be honest with you.
It's a lot.
This basically takes 2 weeks in college to learn how to read a sounding, just to read it, not even to go through all the parameters. But I will show you this. There's no cap. And when we talk about caps and thunderstorms and what caps are, I will show you this graphic, and then we're going to wrap up with the 7-day. Did we do weather rate?
No.
We got to bust that out in 11 minutes.
Do it real quick.
All right. So this is, first of all, the thunderstorm cap. So with the sounding, You got a temperature profile. I thought I made one that doesn't have that has our banner. Oh, here we are. Okay. So we have warm air loft. The temperature typically decreases with height. However, in this case, you will see that there's a part where there's what's called an inversion. So as the temperature is heating up throughout the day, as long as that temperature keeps falling with height, meaning cooling, then the air will continue to rise. But at some point, you have what's called a cap. This is some warm air aloft, warmer than its surrounding air. And this prevents the thunderstorms from developing. But when you have an uncapped environment where the temperature profile basically is cooling with height all the way up, then what you have is sufficient heating. There's a strong front or a jet stream that comes in. It weakens the cap, and that allows thunderstorms to erupt and blow up. So this is uncapped. So with uncapped thunderstorm environment, you can get storms that develop and they get pretty strong. You know what? We have not shown updraft helicity tracks. That is a very good point.
Severe weather, right?
Yes, let's do that. Let's show the helicity tracks. Oh yeah, severe weather Friday. Yes, definitely put her in there.
Demolish.
All right. Tracks.
You have that in there.
What?
Is that a product?
What?
Helicity tracks?
Oh yeah.
Didn't realize it was in Max.
Yeah, we made a remember max updraft helicity. So here's the HRRR. Ooh, should we do the 8-ball? Nah, we'll hold off on the 8-ball tomorrow. Obviously, nothing. Oh, there you go. Okay, so for tomorrow,
That's right, yeah.
here's some isolated cells that develop. Kind of weak. Nothing super strong on those shear tracks. Notice how they do strengthen as they get a little bit farther east. However, watch what happens Friday. I still think Friday is going to be interesting. Ready? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Boom. Oh, it doesn't look nearly as bad. Look at that track, though.
Yeah.
Farther east.
A little bit stronger.
Yeah. So here's what I want to do real quick. I want to show you what the helicity track looked like from the model before. Remember, these are going to change a lot. So let's go to the 18Z from previous. Will it allow me to? Should, right?
You gotta change the data time as well.
Oh, I got to go 18Z yesterday. There we go.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got here.
I think there might have been anything.
No, there was storms. I do have to change the data time.
Maybe.
I guess it doesn't show. It stops right there. I don't know. Maybe it parsed it out. You can bring it up on that though. What does it show on that?
Composite?
No. Updraft helicity tracks. Scroll down. Max updraft helicity.
Unmax. You know the previous run?
Yeah, previous run 18Z. Man, my eyes are burning.
Doesn't have much at all except one big old.
No.
thing
That's
to the north.
so that is that's not right. Do the 0Z.
All right. The current run.
Yep, and then go through right there. Where are the storms that went through? We were looking at them earlier. Remember? They exploded.
Didn't have strong 0.3 kilometer helicity tracks.
All right. Well, nothing's gonna happen. Call it a day. All right. Let's look at the 7-day forecast here. And by the way, Blaze, I see your comment. What's causing the camera glitch is unfortunately some memory issues with the computer, so it just starts
Yeah.
getting bogged down. This
That-
thing has been not rebooted for several days.
Yeah.
And
I need to
power.
reboot it.
Power is another thing too that causes that with the KVMs. So here's a look at this 5-day forecast. Notice we got storm chances each day. Midday tomorrow, most likely some strong storms possible. The Friday risk, some severe. You saw the hatched area for large hail. Saturday, Sunday, storm potential. Tornado potential will be on the table for Friday. A lot of the storms Saturday might be to the west until Saturday night. So maybe Saturday is a good day.
Chase.
Yeah, to chase, yeah. And then Sunday, you got storm chances. And then we got Monday and Tuesday, the same amount, 40%. That doesn't mean 40% of the area. It probably will most likely be more of the coverage area. However, the pattern's difficult. We just are questioning confidence, meaning the confidence is questionable. How much storm activity will take place at the time we're saying? Who knows? So there's a look at the Northwest Arkansas to River Valley forecast. Storm chances very similar, and so there you go.
Yep.
So I think that does it. We're gonna wrap this up here in a few minutes.
And nothing happened that prevented us from continuing to go on.
Any questions from anybody? Yeah.
Nothing.
We'll let it go for about a minute. And then we're gonna shut down. Man, my eyes are burning.
I know.
I am so tired.
Getting pretty tired.
Well, this is interesting, Dina, because not every year it doesn't. Dixie Alley is not always the worst spot. Some areas are not. Overall, over the last few years, you did actually some research on this. Right?
Over the last 30 years, as opposed to the climatological normal, it's might shift a little bit, but it goes back and forth.
Yeah. I
Still pretty
think
similar.
it's too far out to say that because we don't know exactly what that system is going to do. But as far as the ceiling is concerned, there's going to be a lot of instability. There's going to be a lot of shear, and there's going to be a lot of jet stream energy. And when it negatively tilt the trough and that much energy and upper level support, it's going to be interesting. No, I don't think so. Drive from Jonesboro to Northwest Arkansas. There could be some isolated storms. We'll be watching it.
They'll be having to dodge them out on the roadways. Doesn't sound like a fun idea.
That's always a possibility, Trace. I'm not gonna deny that. I don't think nothing pops just because now there might be at times nothing pops. Like for instance, we're maybe calling for storm Saturday evening and then nothing happens Saturday evening. That's a possibility. However, as far as like nothing happening, just too much energy. Look at
Meteorologically, it doesn't make sense for nothing to happen at all.
Doesn't. You got a frontal boundary, you got a warm front, you got a dry line, you got a glitchy camera. That basically means that's the end, right?
That
there.
is the end.
Good night. Good luck.
Good night.
Yeah.
Night.
It's like Max Headroom here.
Man, we might have to stop this. We don't want to give anyone like a seizure.
See you guys. Bye. Have a good one. Thanks for watching. Reboot. Bye.